And let me go back to our political panel. So, Shira, you heard Cecilia say people should measure the politicians on what they are able to get done. With that thought in mind and the president's address, and we're actually posing our gut check question to our viewers. Do they believe that the president can bring Congress on board for big things to happen? How would you answer that, Shira?
It's going to be very difficult, and his success with this kind of thing in the past has not been very good. The makeup of Congress generally did not change too much. Democrats still hold the Senate. Republicans hold the majority in the House. That continues to be the recipe we've been tasting for the last cycle or so, and that's stalemate. It's going to be very difficult. But I do want to say, if there's one thing the president might mention in terms of plans to stimulate the economy, I think he might bring up infrastructure.
Yeah.
Presidents often bring this up in the State of the Union address, and usually it's the kind of word that makes viewers' eyes roll over. But for Democrats, it means an investment. For Republicans, though, they see dollar signs, they see spending, so I bet we'll see Republican pushback on that.
And regarding the sequester, Aaron, public opinion obviously against these automatic spending cuts. I believe somewhere around $700 billion for domestic programs, $500 billion for defense. Both sides agreed to this deal, and we were talking yesterday, perhaps this is another example of, I think, how people are baffled by Washington, D.C. You agreed to it, and now, with days away, no one wants to do it, but no one has a solution. How does the president address this properly in the speech tonight?
Well, there's not a great way to do it. The problem is that whatever cuts that would be proposed in place of the sequester would also be terribly unpopular with the American people. So proposing an alternative to this is not going to, erase the opposition to what's going on. I think that the president sought to get out in front of this a little bit by proposing his kind of temporary solution to the sequester situation. I would expect him to push that again tonight and say, let's give ourselves some more time to avoid these very drastic cuts. And the history of these situations over the past couple of years have shown that the American people are open to kind of these temporary measures, at least for a short period of time.
For a short period of time. And Shira, transitioning to the Republicans, you have the GOP response, Marco Rubio, the Tea Party response with Rand Paul. Many believe that this is another indication of a divide, if you will, within the Republican Party. I want to play what Senator Rand Paul had to say on Marco Rubio. Let's play it.
There's a lot of energy that still comes from the Tea Party, and while they consider themselves mostly to be Republican, they occasionally will chastise even the Republican establishment, so they want an independent voice. I don't see it as necessarily divisive. I won't say anything on there that necessarily is like, oh, Marco Rubio is wrong. I don't always agree, but the thing is this isn't about he and I. This is about the Tea Party.
So he won't say Marco Rubio is wrong, but he might not say he's right, Shira. So here we have the second storyline of the night here. Is this, though, really a Rubio versus Rand Paul?
I think it could be a foreshadow of something in 4 years, to tell you the truth. No, I think, at a time when Republicans really needed to show a unified front, this is doing exactly the opposite. I think a lot of people in Washington, I know a lot of journalists are going to tune into Rand Paul.
We just lost Shira mid-sentence. We apologize. Let me bring in Chris Kafinas. Chris, there was an article yesterday that the president sees the Republicans as divided and vulnerable, and that will give him an opportunity, if he is, if you will, going to go big as a first-read team. This is his opening with this fractured Republican Party, who could have decided, I assume, to have one face, but that is not the road that they've chosen for tonight.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're a pretty divided party, and you see that seemingly every day. Listen, I'm going to be optimistic for once in terms of the direction of the country, politically speaking. I actually think on some issues, I think there is potential real progress. I mean, on immigration, I think we're actually going to get something done, because I think Republicans got a wake-up call from the last election, and the country is definitely, eager for some kind of real significant policy change. So that's good. And I think also on guns, we may not get what a lot of progressives and others and myself may like, but I think we may get background checks, which will be a significant step forward. Where the real problems begin is where you're talking about deficits and debt. Not even jobs, absolutely.
As well, because, for example, Marco Rubio, in his comments, they want to offer an alternative, they say, not just a critique, but that government or big government is part of the problem. And that, I believe, falls in with stimulus and some of the other things that Democrats believe believe, if they'd gone big, would perhaps have helped the economy. That is fundamentally against what Marco Rubio and Republicans believe. So it is the economy, it is spending, but it is also related to jobs.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I think the problem there is you have a Republican division. We had a referendum on that. It was called the last election in terms of the vision of tax cuts somehow creating greater growth and greater jobs. But they're still stuck because that is their mindset as a party. That is their policy vision. The problem, I think, that they have not come to terms with is the country is facing real big challenges, not just in the deficit and the debt, but how do you create long-term growth? And the president, I think, is going to go out there and say very clearly, listen, we've got to make investments today. It's not just spending for the sake of going to debt. It's spending in order to put us in a stronger footing for the future, and that's good for the middle class and good for the country.
Chris, Aaron, and Shira, I'm sure she's still listening to us. Thank you all for joining us. See you soon. So MSNBC's special live coverage of the State of the Union, it begins this evening, 5 Eastern with Hardball. And we want to hear from you. How would you finish this sentence? The state of our union is... Take a picture of yourself holding up your answer. That's me with my answer. Resetting was what I put. Facebook.com/MSNBC or share it on Twitter or Instagram using the hashtag SOTUIS. Coming up overnight, North Korea conducted a third nuclear